moves on, leaving the telltale sign, a white groove carved into the rock. The mystery of the white lines has been solved.
At the beginning, it was very difficult to convince people. The deep little...
Taken from flags that had been made for hundreds of years for military companies of the Fante people of Ghana. Even if you don't understand what they mean, there's no doubt that they have a powerful visual effect.
Watching parties of school children, looking at flag exhibitions, be it in London, Tokyo, Chicago. It's extraordinary. They walk in, they see the flags, their eyes open, their mouths drop, and they immediately get involved. Now that is the same reaction of museum curators that feel they've seen everything. You show them the flags and they just say, where have these been? You know, I mean, they are wonderful graphic works of art, and the people that made them were extraordinarily skilled artists.
I've come to see where the flags come from, to a 100-mile stretch of the coast of Ghana, where the Fante people live. The area that is known today as Ghana has always been cosmopolitan. Nowadays, much of the economy of the Fante coast is based on fishing. But when the Europeans arrived here in the 15th century, there was already a thriving trade in cloth and gold, and so it became known as the Gold Coast. Later it became a center for the slave trade. People here always seem to have loved flags. The earliest European maps and drawings mark it out as a place of flags, and you can still see them wherever you go. The fishermen decorate their boats with a quite unnecessary number, and they seem to draw their inspiration from all over the world. By the end of the 17th century, the Fante people had begun forming Afaso companies, small armies drawn from fishing and farming communities.
I want to introduce some of the Afaso leaders to you. This man is the Supi, we call it Supi. That's a leader of Afaso. And you see these are some of the Afaso Hinis, or the Afaso chiefs.
Yes.
And then you get some of them as linguists.
Yes.
And among all this, and I am Safubat, and
yes,
that's the mother of all the Afaso companies. So when I say they should move, they move. If there's war, I say they should not move, they will not move.
Yes.
So they take instructions from me. So this is how the Afaso company works. So Afaso company is something like the army, the army of the town. When there's any trouble, it is the Afaso company who has to lead and fight.
And when was the last time that the Afaso were used in a war situation?
Long time. It's more than 100 years ago.
Really?
Ever since then, there had not been any war.
So if there's no war, they do their normal jobs, like fishing, and in case of fire outbreaks in town where there's no fire service, they take the position as fire service personnel. And they use the drum to call them to gather themselves and do whatever havoc the town will experience.
They are fishermen, and if somebody drops into the sea, it is them that they go and then find the dead body. See, so they have very important role to play in the society.
Wherever I went, I'd have to visit the chief, wait until he'd assembled his elders, and then explain formally why I'd come. It's disrespectful to address a chief directly, so you speak to him through his linguist, who's a kind of advocate. I had my own linguist, Alex Menser from the Ghana National Museum.
Yo, Nana Chame, Nana, my Yora Tony Knox, no ye, Nakaho, Nabati, was singing. The young fight Dama, and sa, but I'm way by saying, no ye, Jete, Ogu, Fiasamwe, Monfama, Nana, now on fine yet, not too maze. My Juma, ye bezino, Wakodo from. Nana, Yasapa,
This is, in some respects, a very formal society that would have been recognized with great ease, I think, by a Tudor courtier who would have understood very, very clearly what these signs and symbols were about. And you're dealing with objects like flags, you're dealing with objects like linguist staffs, you're dealing with the stools, the thrones on which kings sit. These are very significant pieces of regalia which are dealt with respect. If you want to look at these things, you have to ask permission, and you have to ask permission in a very set and formal fashion. You're supposed to show respect not only to the earthly embodiment of power in the king and the king's court, but you're also expected to show respect to the dead. The dead aren't worshipped in Akan religion, but the ancestors are venerated.
I come to a sattery to ask if I could be shown their long flag. It's the longest flag known in Fante land. Long flags tell the story of the town in Proverbs. Fante language is exceptionally rich in proverbs, and everything is expressed through them. I often find it quite hard to work out exactly what they mean.
They are all depicting the history of what has gone on in a sanctuary. And since the stories are so many, they have to depict every story in the form of images in the flags. That's why they have been so long. Everything is expressed in proverb and in images so that they will never forget what has happened in their lives here. The cats and mice don't sleep on one mat. There is a bird in the river, and it always eats fish. So it has come to eat, to feed on the fish that is in the river.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, there is a big tree, and it takes courage, it takes men to go there, and this animal has fallen from it.
I left a Satchery and headed further along the coast to visit someone who makes flags. Kofi Nkrumah's been working as a carpenter and a flag maker since he was a child.
Mekai dem ahyɛse makan na meija hasapo no ho nti me nana ofan sipika ka no na odo we akwem ho ona so na oye Fante edwuma wo krom ha nti on na otwem fam no ho na yekohebem na yaruba yekohebem yaruba na chi na mankan ofram the mehu de weije ho nti mapele wonana obeche wedwuma na musu meje etum na munana ofama etwefom woye amanze de maso biar ko se edwuma woye man munana okane bia ochram no na ofama etwefom na okere munana sisa hwele ma yepin ni kuro ha so bia so nso bi nkan se amomoden ne ensua edwuma na se ochen se yakopɔ twensa frama edwuma na ayo wo man mu asaso ayo ebuso na wala ewom no mu na menana bia odi edwuma no hyamansa no na kware ni na musuro akra nti onyimfo na baby ma yakade ho bɛyɛ na asa nechi na ye ba no odi bɛ na asa no ne fo onyimkro nesei no so ekobo mpa ho ema ononumam osa so yimko na busumpum so ama mkonyo konyo ansa na ye befe ema orbota botam amama mensuro amase atamfo abase bi ba mu ho a ne sebia na musumenya aza mode bapam mo ha ekwana yenna maso eton fanka no ekwan baya ahu hebien hodikan se hoba na obasha fanka ya yebison dem ahyesema kan abodin kura wodeba onna na yehwe na fina yedi charge ho na asana edakota tamana zena edabe ho edwuma na edam ema wada ko na sin ko na man ko fo ban de Maybe we're watching suffering when Nucrum or Whoopin. She answered Whoopin, no, we're Oba, no, Oba Basha, no Franca, say that with Whoopin and my IFA. Ahume. Who's a career 500? Oh, yeah.
For the first time in my life, I got the chance to see flags being used in the traditional way at Anamabu. The flags are normally kept locked away. They're only brought out on very special occasions. This is the beginning of the drumming festival at Anamabu, when the talking drums are allowed to speak out for the first time after weeks of silence. For its rallying post, each company has a shrine called a posabam. We don't know much about the origins of the posabam, although some of the earlier ones were sacred trees. Nowadays, they can be anything, from small mounds of earth to astonishing buildings in painted concrete that dominate the surroundings. Sometimes they've been well maintained. Sometimes they've been neglected and allowed to decay.
These are some of the old flags, and this one is more than about 200 years ago.
Really?
Yes. It has been with us for almost about 200 years ago. So this flag is older than all of us here. And so we are keeping them. So that's why it's torn out.
One of the really interesting aspects of these flags is how they are unique documents of textiles that were produced in Europe. And because a lot of them are actually made of second-hand cloths, which were sent out as rags from Europe to the West African coast. In this example here, we've got an example of what looks like batik. In fact, it's a wax print that probably was produced in Europe, probably in Liverpool or Manchester area, specifically for the West African market. And this was one of the chief commodities that went out in the ships down to the West African coast. Some of the cloths which you actually find in the flags, and which are very prominent here, are the kinds of cloths which normally would never ever be shown in public in the European context, because they were actually used for night clothes and underwear. And this is true of the range of red flannelette fabrics, such as has been used for the background here. It's a brushed cotton cloth, a little bit like winceyette.
The drumming festival's getting underway. It's especially the festival of the No. 6 Company. Because they're fishermen, they've taken a battleship as their posaband. They see it as the strongest thing on the sea, and their key colour is red.
So no biba na say or the Frank Abela me ya nimu asam na obaka no na mehwe na me de college different me de em oyefe em obejako onye nhye ana me ya obi an fi bebi mmaka nche me de bia de me eyi ameye onye ana omu nti ma adwen na me de ye na me de ye ma oyefe.
And this one is one of my particular favourites. Can you, the seaplane, can you tell me? This one particularly interests me.
About too much chair, Frank, and much Kankara Mohe, Chichimutan. If women are enough, what should a man do? Where's the bay? Frank, anyhow, where's the bay and fair? A lot of years, several years, he can't even remember.
Kwesi Asabir is an expert on the meanings of the flags of the No. 6 Company. Sometimes I find his explanations hard to follow. I know he's getting fed up with my questions.
They are the same thing. He doesn't see any change in any of them. They are all the same style, and the appliques are all made the same way.
To our eyes, the bridges, planes and trains appear European, but to the people who make the flags, they're as much a part of Asafo visual vocabulary as fishing.
De nsumiheno ono echade bia na abrofo wo ba no ho na wodi nkan wo ba boshe nso wole ho no oye nwa sanchaje wo dem franka no bisa na echade akokoko ba no na bia wimihen bi abohwefom wo kobedo nso wole nsuko no wodi dem ahyanso no wodi ye ho franka.
There are a lot of flags that show dragnet fishing. The net stretches out in a great curve, maybe half a mile out to sea. It takes hours to pull the net in, and everyone who helps gets a share of the fish.
When I'm in the water, I don't go on. I go to watch what I'm going to be.
Nikubia na our nation soa. Mama, what dear, Fankanama. Nanka Mpinfono. And no, Nabofo, wash a Yansin Yalu Hensi. And she said, yeah, Frankana on your British flag in the edition. We want a bluffing washer. Now, in the Musa, say we're gonna for your found. Say, yeah, Frank, be a Ghana. I shall say.
I think there's no way in the world that I, or indeed any non-Fante, could get the same meaning from a Fante flag as a Fante. We're not of that culture. No matter how much we study the culture, we remain outsiders. So our appreciation has to be aesthetic and based on our own aesthetic traditions, our reaction to the flag.
The context of these flags was never the art gallery. It was never a shop. It was public performance, public events participated in by large numbers of people. These things didn't hang on walls for people to gawp at. They were things that were enjoyed, used, looked at by people involved in public events.
The Anamaboo Drumming Festival is just beginning. The flag dancer of the No. 6 company sets off, unfurling his flags and leading his company around the posse bands of the town.
It's a sad reflection in many ways, but everybody wants something new, something different. And there's very little new and different which is available in commercially viable quantities. Africa will satisfy that need or whatever. I don't know if it is anything more than a need to be different. It's not a happy situation, but it's a fact. We need to be in the business of putting new designs, new ideas, new merchandise in front of customers.
Most of modern urban culture in the West has been heavily influenced by African traditions and certainly by New World renditions of African culture in the form of jazz and a lot of popular forms of music, dance, and in many respects, art. And I think what happens is, as the century has gone on, Africa has provided such a backdrop to modernism that people have a kind of awareness, or what they feel to be a subliminal familiarity with what they think Africa is. And of course, for centuries it's represented wildness, untamedness, naturalness, endurance, all of the things that are opposed to European concepts of rationality, artifice, and alienation. So I think people identify a certain set of values with Africa that have to do with spontaneity and happiness and wholeness of being, and they want bits of that in their lives.
Well, people come from America, England. They come to us, they say they want flag because a person like me, I am known in the Western region all over. Then I go and collect them and bring it. Then they buy from us. But they don't go to the village and buy for themselves.
We will not sell our flags. We will not sell our flag. Immediately we sell the flag, it means we have we've sold the town. And then the citizens are no more in town. So we are not prepared to sell our flags because we cherish the flags as our blood because it's the flags that led our people to the battlefield during the Bobikuma War.
The Afaso flags are consecrated with libations, just like the regimental flags of the British Army.
I was told that the Afaso flags, the earliest ones, were dated from about 1720 or 1730. I can see no reason why the parallels for the Afaso people and the British military should be different, because simply they were fighting with the same sort of weapons. And certainly in the English army, the British army, the colours now represent to the regiments the exploits of the past being displayed in the present and perhaps an expectation of things to come. They represent the embodiment on parade of the spirit of the regiment. When their useful life is expired in the service of the regiment and in service of the Queen and country, they are retired, but they are honourably retired, normally to a place of worship. And it does, I think it says in Queen's regulations somewhere that they will hang on their pike until they fall from it.
It's presumed that it is the soul of ancestors. So we will not allow you to use it to advertise or whatever it is. You know, when you came, this one was in the room. Before we wanted to see, before we brought it out. It's not a matter of sending it to anywhere, no way. It is not done. Always, it's properly guided.
The flag, you go to the village and then you talk to them, you have to be friendly with them. And then not one day you just go and say, I want flag to buy. It's kind of insult. So you have to be friend with them. And then later on, next time you come and say, oh, I need some flag, this, that, you know, and then later on, they accept you as a good friend, and then they offer you one.
One of the flag makers who's been caught up in the buying and selling of flags is Kabina Badua. He lives in a small village, way off the beaten track.
Bana wurobata na wo ban na wo ma hwehwe dada ma ho na me dada mi bi fofu ya ma amre ye na mi bi kira ho wo pe ngoje bu na wo ze me pe ene tem no baazi nti na fa ma ho wo kono aba wo mai So what about no pia? No, one pia. And I'm here. I'm got for village. I'm farmer by force.
Number 6 Company, the ship company, are displaying their flags around Anamabu with lots of taunts and claims that they're the best company in town. Every time they display their flag at another company's post, there's a possibility of violence.
Their symbol is ship. So when they reach every post, they perform as they are in a ship. The captain will measure the water, how many yards or how many meters they have reached. So at every post, they perform actual what they do in the ship.
If the plumb line drops too short, it's seen as an insult. But then some years ago, the line was thrown too far and it hit the posabam of another company. Several people were killed in the battle that followed.
The flags did deliver messages that were boasts, taunts, threats designed to intimidate and antagonize opposition groups. After a series of intercompany clashes that actually led to fatalities, the British governor at Cape Coast confiscated all flags that were deemed to be too provocative, I think in 1906 and 1907, and subsequently sold them to a German art dealer. So I think over 2,000 flags left Ghana around the turn of the century.
British authority regarded these as terrible inciting instruments. They were objects that made people very angry, and they were taken away in rather the same way as I think one gets regalia confiscated from extreme groups in many parts of the world.
The British Museum in London has several very beautiful but very fragile flags. They're marked number 3 Company, Anamabu. But the people who work at the British Museum don't know very much about them.
Tracking it back, it seems that they were probably collected by Sir Cecil Armitage, who was a soldier and administrator in what was then the Gold Coast, now Ghana, between 1895 and 1920. How old they were when he got them, or under what circumstances he collected them, I'm afraid we don't know.
And could you tell us something about who made the flags and what they were used for?
Well, again, we don't know too much about it.
It's rather as though one pulled the entire history of Christian art out of a Christian context and knew nothing about Christianity and said, this is a rather pretty picture of a woman holding a baby. Whereas for us, it's a picture of the Madonna and a child, which is charged with meaning, centuries of meaning.
That's a nice one. So why the whale? Because I noticed it on the posabam as well.
Okay. As we say, we play supremacy. We play supremacy. When you go to the sea, in the sea, the whale is the most powerful animal or mammal in the sea. When you come to the land, the lion is the most powerful, or the elephant is the most biggest in the sea. So we put on the whale to indicate our supremacy in the town.
But then there's another company in the town that has a ship, and they would suggest that that is the supreme symbol of the sea.
And the whale can wreck a ship, for that matter. The whale can wreck a ship.
As Number 6 Company reaches another company's posibem, the drums ask and receive permission to pass by. As dusk falls, the crowds begin to disperse. This year's drumming festival has ended peacefully.
It's very painful to see Afaso company losing his flag to a foreign country. It's very painful. We presume that our ancestral souls are in our Afaso flags.
And how do you feel about the selling of old Afaso flags and sculptures abroad? How do you feel about that?
Well, you feel, sometimes you feel uncomfortable because of the situation. You can't go away from it. You have to sell it to earn your living.
So do you feel there's any moral problem?
Well, even if there's moral problem, it won't work because you don't have much and the person who is to give the certificate hasn't got much. So we both join together and sell it and make our living.
It is proper that they should return to wherever they took it. Because even those people, they will make another one. But the original one should be brought back. So if they want new ones, we can prepare some for you and then you take it along. But the original ones should be sent back.
But I think it would be a terrible shame if the art of the world was confined to the countries where that art was created. Because you would empty the British Museum, you would empty the Metropolitan. All Rembrandts would go back to Holland. All Fante flags would go back to Ghana.
Maybe they have got, in conservation terms, a better home in the West. That I don't think we can know. But they don't belong here. And certainly if we want to enjoy them as art objects, it seems to me the best way to enjoy them is to copy them and to allow the people who generated these and to whom these things belong to reside in their appropriate context, which, as I say, is not the context of a gallery.
Does he know roughly when some of these flags of his grandfathers were actually made?
Okay, I fear that Nana Franklin was he been my
son need to say but 30 years.
Some ranging from 30 years up. This is one of them.
She said, Mr. Mebisa, is straight.
All this you are asking, the questions you are posing, what actually is your aim posing these questions? What actually there? May say it's a walk, series of the more and some in there. Dominal Pina or Walbridge, when you as a fool, Nessu Natabai. If you who are on board, they be so, or Poro Yama, who there, the more frank, and they as a fool, or Hinama brain, Hiamambu, or as a crow, if you more ye, I may be so who there, or that might say, not awesome boy, Ghana, another or many. Center. If you saw the chazi or the microphone was swazi, but from one number to the swazi.
Or Abuchio,
what would you know? You Ghana, Yara?
Would you say I'm a Ghana?
How do you feel about seeing your flags in the book?
Now, Frank, a woman, oh, I just make he's extremely very happy that his handwork has reached somewhere and it's even printed in books for people to read.
Well, I'm very pleased to hear that. I'm very pleased.
Oh, you just say, "Why so poor? Academ, no, what's in them? No, no, or in the yes, say them not that. No, yeah, no, walk in the own car. If that be the case, when you go, remember the flag makers.
Oh, we will.
That they are contributing to the culture of the nation.
We will.
I'm pretty agile. I'm saying, come and see her. There in here, Abaha. I am a son, but very mindful. Niadibiala, Nana and painful. Now you do me an ocean. You ask how I may want to hear you, Bayan. Mamma, nay, baby, Bushmiss.
6 months. It took him 6 months to finish this flag.